Need a motion?
Second.
Motion and support? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you, Board. Item B, our quarterly treasurer report. Welcome, Karen.
Good morning, everyone. So I've previously submitted the report for the last 3 months, I guess, for September. And really, I just wanted to highlight the foreclosure auction, tax foreclosure auction process and the details there. So we have not scheduled the second auction as of yet. It will be forthcoming, but I've kind of outlined what the plan is in this presentation or these notes for you. So unless there's further questions, the monthly investment reports have been submitted. They're online, available for you. But that's really what I wanted to present today, is talk about the auction, and if you've got any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Question, Board? Daniel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my first question was already answered.
Yes.
So thank you for that. I just had one additional question, which I know last year after the first auction, during that second auction, we bundled all of the properties together. Is that the same plan going forward for this year? And if so, if there's an individual who wishes to purchase just one of those properties, can you give us some instructions on how they would do that?
Sure, very good question. Thank you. Yes, we're going to proceed with the second auction, bundling all remaining properties. So you'll see in the notes there that we've got one bundle of 102 parcels. Those are the total number of parcels that remain after the first auction. We've done this for 3 years now, and if there is a party that's interested in a particular property, if it's in the city, what we've been directing people to do is to reach out to the city NEO office and speak to them there, let them know that what parcel they're interested in, and then after we transfer those properties to the city, as we've done the past couple of years, they're going to be buying them for the taxes that are due and owing. Once those properties are transferred to the city, then the city will connect with those people interested with a particular property, and they work out a deal. Either the city will make it available for them to purchase, or based on their individual reports that they do at the city, whether or not the property will be available for sale or not. But that's at the discretion of the city. If it's a township, we recommend that they reach out to the treasurer's office after the first of the year, and then we can make any properties available for sale at that time.
So just a follow-up question for clarification. So the properties that are left over after the first auction that are inside the city limits will be purchased by the city?
That's correct.
Okay. And is that at the minimum rate? Or
Yes.
what
Yep.
rate are they being purchased at?
If you see there, I did highlight under the second bullet point, the city will be charged back $150,410.36 for all 67 parcels in the city. And just for your information, 40 of those parcels have houses or structures on them, and 27 are vacant lots. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Karen, as we all know, there was a particular property in Summit Township that was very involved. Did that property sell, and is your office aware of what's going on with that currently?
Which property was that? Was it on Comstock?
Yeah, the nice little old lady?
Oh, no, that was Avondale.
Right.
That particular property sold at the first auction, so it has new ownership. Once we receive the deeds from Title Check, who does the auctions, once we receive the deeds and do the transfer of ownership, it's going to be at the sole discretion of the new owner as to what happens with the current tenant. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Karen. It says here that we need $549,550 to cover our costs of the delinquent tax fund to replace the money. Is that on top of the $410,000 we made on the first auction, or?
No, you deduct the $410,000. So we're actually sitting in a good spot right now. We should, in all likelihood, be made whole because of the fact that we did so well at our first auction. And again, the $150,000 from the city has not come back yet, so we're waiting on the invoice, the payment from the city.
Okay, thank you very much. Any
You're
other
welcome.
questions? I think we're set. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Get back to the other screen.
Morning, Commissioners.
Welcome.
I have in front of you the revised union handbook. We hadn't updated it since '07, so a number of changes that I outlined in the current situation over the last 10 years. We waited for negotiations to be completed to update it, and so I'd like the board to consider moving it on to a full board so we can have it approved and distributed to our union colleagues. Any questions?
Questions on the handbook? If there's no questions, I need a motion of support.
Okay, move to the full board.
Support. We have a motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have facilities. Welcome, Rusty. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr.
Rick?
Chair, Commissioners. First up, we have an easement request. This is for a driveway leading up out of the Blackstone Activity Park up to Lansing Avenue. The Convenience King Group and Jackson Friendly Home reached out to us for permission for an easement on this section of driveway, and in return for us granting that, they will improve it and maintain it, and that's why I'm bringing it forward. It is connected to the Blackstone property. As you come off from Blackstone Street, it's just the driveway leading up the hill isn't in the greatest of shape. I wouldn't recommend it yet. But, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In front of you, we have a request to replace the roof at the North Lawn building. Just some background on this. This was a tough one. It's kind of a good news, bad news scenario where our two qualified local vendors have so much work, they can't get to it until next year. McDonald didn't bid because they couldn't get to it this year. North Ply did bid. They said they couldn't get to it until the summer of 2019. And we actually reached out to them and said, can't you move it up? And the soonest they could move it up would be May of 2019. Because Bloom is close enough in their price, I went ahead and am recommending them to do the roof. They can start October 1st. This was kind of a tough one because if you look at North Lawn, it's covered with terracotta tiles, where we tried to find a company that could replace those tiles because we have, how many, Rusty? Over 100 that are cracked?
Oh, please.
And we found another product. It's the same product the city is going to use at the Masonic Temple. It's a stamped metal product that looks just like terracotta. So we're able to save a significant amount of money. And that's what we spec'd out for this project.
Don't dare wait through the winter.
I hate to gamble.
It's not that much more, but then again, if you owed it to somebody, it'd be a lot.
Yes.
Questions? Discussion? Need a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously, I guess. 4F, facilities, the morgue. Where's
Well-
Carl there?
One of the things I love about my job is the fact that we get into some items that I've never, ever had to deal with before in my career, this being one of them. I never thought I would be constructing a morgue.
Don't you be the first customer. Okay. No more first.
Thank you. With this one, we've been working with the medical examiner's office and with our architect to put together a viable plan. And we found out that mortuary equipment is actually specialized medical type equipment where you just can't go and buy a stainless steel table somewhere and expect it to hold up to the type of use that takes place in a morgue. Rusty, in fact, stand up, has gone to Oakland County, reviewed their morgue there, which is actually quite large, and both of us went to Henry Ford and reviewed the morgue here. One of the items the medical examiner requested was a specific brand of equipment called Mopec. They custom design coolers, freezers, autopsy tables, sinks, garbage disposals, the whole, everything you need for a morgue. And we did receive a quote from them, and this is really just a single source bid. It's not a sole source. When we just got these numbers in on Friday, and why I'm bringing it forward without taking it out to bid is the fact that we looked at the cost of doing autopsies in Jackson is $2,000 per body, and we do about 200 a year, so we extrapolated that out, and every month that we delay in getting this project going costs the county over $33,000. So that's why we brought this forward today and are asking that we have approval to move this onto the full board, and I'm able to answer any questions that you folks may have.
Who will be doing the autopsies at our morgue?
It's, Mike, I'm sorry, I don't have that answer.
The same people who do them today, that come down from Oakland County, the same pathologists and so forth, will come down. We expect to continue our agreement that we've had for a number of years. Instead of them going to the hospital, they'll go to our morgue.
And the hospital will be sending all their medical examiner cases from their institution downtown?
I can't necessarily say what they will do. I can tell you what they told me, and that is that if they had need for an autopsy, they would send them down to Detroit.
Okay.
Rick, have you looked at Lipshaw? Lipshaw is another autopsy medical equipment company. And in fact, the two tables that were at Henry Ford were Lipshaw. One of them is much newer than the other. The other one was moved in from the previous autopsy room. I worked there for 20 years. I was part of the move and built a new hospital. I was one of the guys that helped put that autopsy room together.
Okay.
But Lipshaw was one of the companies that we bought all of that stuff from. And it's pretty simple stuff when you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
The garbage disposals are, other than a heavy-duty commercial garbage disposal. But I'm going to tell you something. The guy that has to go in there and work on that and unplug it,
Yeah, that
not
would
a
be
pleasant
us.
spot. But No, look at Lipshaw. Lipshaw was a huge company that built that stuff.
And again, this was just one of those scenarios where we had the quote come in, and because of the cost that is involved in every 30 days that we delay, that's what prompted me to come forward. So that's why I'm bringing this forward. And I certainly appreciate it, sir. It's There was a stainless steel cabinet that we were able to, and actually did remove. Was there anything else?
Yes, there was a body parts cooler and a couple scales.
Okay, so I already
So-
done that.
Henry Ford did donate that to us at no cost.
Any other discussion? If not, I need a motion and support.
So moved.
We have a motion support, and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Carl, you're on your phone. Yeah, I've come up with knives. Okay. Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on now
Thank you,
to
sir.
item 4G, our finance, child care fund budget amendment. Welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we're asking for a budget amendment for the Child Care Fund, increasing institutional care expenses by $100,000. That type of expense is 50% reimbursable from the state, so we're increasing revenue from the state of $50,000, and then the remaining funds will come out of the fund balance or out of reserves in the Child Care Fund. To put that in perspective, the total expenses in the Child Care Fund for this area, we budgeted $1,750,000. This will increase to $1,850,000. Now, that includes, besides institutional care, it also includes foster care and in-home expenses as well. The prior year expenses, 2017 expenses, were $2,250,000. So even with a $100,000 increase, we are $400,000 less than last year. And so in consultation with the state, this should get us through this year. Okay. Thank you.
Nice, nice. And discussion. Any motion and support? We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. 4H, another budget amendment.
Yeah, these are amendments in connection with the Health Department. The Health Fund has a September year end. So these are the final adjustments for the Health Fund's fiscal year end. And so we're increasing revenue and expense by $107,500.
Discussion. Motion and support. We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Item 4I is our July financial report.
Yes, the July monthly financial report, again, their budget benchmark is 58.3%. Our year-to-date expenditures happens to be 58.3%, just happens that way. And our three-year expenditure average is 56.9. So we're on the budget target, but just a little bit above historical trends. On the revenue side, the year-to-date revenue percent is at 30.6. The three-year revenue average is 29.8, so we're above the pace on the revenue. Prior months, we were behind the pace, but we've caught up. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about that.
Questions or discussion? Administrator Overton.
Jim, we're behind in the budget process.
Yes.
Could you tell the board, give them the updated schedule, what your thinking is we can move the budget forward?
Yes, we have to and this is what happened last year, we have to adopt a budget for the Friend of the Court Fund and the Healthcare Fund by October 1st. So we'll go ahead next week adopting the budget for those two funds. And if you remember last year, we did that, and then also adopted all the other funds in October. So we will do that again this year. Then the other funds, we will go into the October meeting cycle. We will have a budget hearing at the study session in October with adoption at the October meeting, the October cycle. And the reason for that this year is that we've had a number of moving parts, including 2 millages. So with respect to the animal shelter, animal control, and with respect to the parks, we've had a number of changes. I guess that's good news, where you have additional money, but it requires additional plans in terms of setting up those budgets. We've also had ongoing discussions with respect to the Public Defender's Office, and we've been waiting for some guidance from the state in terms of how to set up a separate fund and what should be in that budget. However, there's more details coming. However, the basic structure is now known, such that we can include those numbers in our 2019 budget. We also have to, by the way, do budget amendments and create a new fund for the 2018 budget because the state's fiscal year starting October of 18, there'll be funds available for the initial setup and run out of that particular office and so forth. So there's still a lot of information left to obtain from the state and so forth. So, and we are meeting, I believe, next week with HAP concerning our renewal on the health care costs. So we will have a better handle as to what the increased cost would be. So in view of the changes, in view of all the uncertainties, then it was felt that we have to delay that process until October.
So next week, we're going to approve the child care fund.
No, sir.
What'd you say it was?
Friend of the Court and
yeah.
Health Department.
Oh, Health Department, thank you. And then, when's the public hearing on the budget in October?
The
Study session?
Study session.
Okay, then through the committee and...
And that way, through the committee process beyond that.
Okay.
So that would give plenty of time for the commissioners to review what is in there.
Okay.
And also again, while we always have uncertainty going forward with a budget, there was just too much uncertainty in terms of what the actual numbers are going to be this year. And I feel better that once we know what the HAP renewal is, well, I'll feel better if the increase is not more than 5%. That'd be great, but who knows what that increase will be.
Good, thank you.
I thought when we switched over to Henry Ford Alliance's medical insurance plan, year 2 was already programmed into the switchover. Okay.
Yeah, I made certain assumptions in the 2019 and 20 budgets. I believe our agreement includes a cap on the increase, and the cap in the second year is 11%. If it goes to 11%, then we'd have to make some changes to the budget, significant changes. So hopefully, and again, that 2018, because that was the initial year of union contracts and so forth, there was delays in getting on HAP fully. So 2018, part of the year we're on Blue Cross for some people, and part of the year we're on HAP. So while it's better in terms of budgeting because we know what it's going to be, there still is uncertainty as to what the increase will be.
Well, there's these two policies here, and it's our expectation, goal is to continue to bring a couple policies a month, And I know we have our intern, Ellie, working on additional policies. Deborah, do you want to take us through any particular changes of note? I would appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure. This policy hadn't been reviewed in quite some time, so there were some pretty drastic changes. So you'll notice in the attachments, I have the original that's labeled original, and then the new proposed one. The reason we did that is that there were so many changes that it got too confusing trying to read a red line document. So I gave you the original plus the new proposed. But it is a pretty significant overhaul. I'm not sure, Richard is here from HR, but we did work with HR in updating this document, and also Karen Andrews from the Andrews Group, who also provided our recent harassment training for the county employees. So she also assisted in redrafting this document. Richard, did you have anything else?
Yes, the major points there is that harassment can take several forms. So this was not just sexual harassment, but all types and forms, and it did follow up on the training we had for leadership and the training we had for all employees. And therefore, we really needed to update the document in full at this point. Any questions?
Richard, there are agencies and departments within the county that don't have to follow our policies. Has this document been shared with those, and which departments are those that don't have to follow our policies?
We share these policies with all departments, whether it be in the courts or not.
I understand that, but there are departments that do not have to follow them. I believe the sheriff's department
Sheriff's
is one of them.
Department is one.
Have we shared this document with them and urged their endorsement?
Yes, they were included in sharing the document and included in all the meetings. Absolutely.
But do we know if they've accepted the document?
I don't know that, but I can certainly check for the commissioners.
Okay.
Anybody else? Item K, do we wish to talk to this anymore, or? Go ahead.
If the board has any questions.
Again, in just the normal course of updating our policies, we determined that this one could use a little bit of tweaking. There is a redlined one there for reference so that you can see the changes in this one. Again, this was distributed to all department head elected officials for review and input. Do you have any questions?
Why don't you talk a little bit about the process of we go through for our policies so they understand?
So typically what happens when we're updating a policy is either myself or our intern recognizes, or a question may come up. In this particular circumstance, a question came up from a department head. So it's usually brought to our attention, we take a look at it. I or our intern make recommended changes, we bring it to our leadership and management team meetings for their input. And then once those two teams have reviewed it, we bring it to department head elected officials. It's distributed to everybody as a part of the agenda for input. We further discuss it then, at that point, with any input, and then we bring it to the board.
Then, if the intern makes a recommendation that's reviewed as being reasonable, they don't have the authority to make the change for us, do they?
No. Typically, what I tell them to do is to look for other county policies as samples and blend in something something significant if we're missing something. So usually I'll tell them to go look at other county websites to see who else's policies somebody else's might look better or have something that we missed.
Okay.
So we usually have 2 or 3 comparisons that we start with.
All right, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Not, I need a motion and support. We have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. On to item 4L. Administrator, Controller, Administration, reclassification.
Thank you. This here is a reclassification for the Assistant County Administrator. As the staff report indicates, we've asked HR to point value the position as repositioned, if you will. And we've taken this action given that it's our expectation that Deborah is going to be charged with oversight on the new potential public defender's office, as well as potentially a direct report would be dispatch. And of course, currently we've transitioned animal shelter from the health department to a direct report. We've basically elevated that department, if you will, to a direct report to Deborah's office. With those additional responsibilities, we believe this is warranted. Deborah does a great job. When you think about it, I'm looking at Deborah as, and she is more of the public safety expert, if you will. She brings those skills and experiences to the office, and I think this is very much warranted. Questions?
No questions, need a motion support to send this to full board.
So moved to full board.
You have a motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Item 4M, we have our annual fee review. Anything you wish to talk about on that, Mike?
Nothing stands out much to me. There's a few changes in there. We always show you the current year and then what's proposed. We believe that it's more appropriate for the board to review this annually, and that way nothing gets too out of whack. And again, fees should normally cover the cost of whatever service we're providing, unless the board chooses knowingly to subsidize an item, which they can do. It's the board's prerogative. But the fees, currently we don't, that's not our expectation, and our fees are as stated.
All looked very reasonable to me, very minimal. Any other input? Need a motion and support? Send this to the full board?
Support.
Have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you, board. Moving on to item 5, need a motion and support to pay the claims. You have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Thank you. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Other minutes, we don't have any. October reporting schedule, I didn't see any this morning early. Move on to public comment, second phase. No public comment. Committee member comments. Thank you, board. Meeting over. Adjourned.